What is first year PA school like at McMaster's PA program? The workload, the schedule, if you could walk us through that.
We are in a unique cohort. We are the first McMaster class to go online with the PA program. So I guess we won't really talk about the online learning aspect per se, just because it's kind of unique to both SHADA and my classes year. So, but really I can talk about kind of the classes we take, and SHADA can chime in as well. But essentially we have a set series of classes or courses, you can think of them as, that we have to take. So as we were talking about, we have tutorial, and that's where we do our PBL style learning. We also have our professional competencies class. So that's really just a fancy big word to talk about, okay, we learn about the medicine in tutorial and our clinical skills class. And essentially then in our professional competencies class, that's where we really get to learn about, the nuances of being a healthcare professional. We learn about the social justice aspects, social determinants of health, reproductive justice. We learn about funding models of PAs. We learn about the healthcare system in Canada. That's where we really learn about the professional aspect of the career rather than just the medicine side. We also have our clinical skills class. That's where we really get to do hands-on things. We get to learn how to perform physical exams. So for example, a respiratory exam, using that stethoscope, it's not just an accessory. We get to understand, why we're listening to what we're listening to, understanding, how to interpret certain investigations, reading a chest x-ray, reading an ECG, interpreting labs, that sort of thing. And then we also have some other classes that I guess I'll get SHADA to list because I don't want to talk about it all. I feel like I always hear my own voice and I'm like, okay, let's give someone else an opportunity.
So we have our communication skills class, and that's actually only once a month, I believe. And basically we're in groups of 6 and we practice kind of going through and practice interviewing skills that are a little bit more difficult. So not just history taking is what I was getting at. It's more like breaking bad news or situations of like loss and grief, or, patients who are having trouble dealing with their diagnoses. So we have standardized patients in that course, and we all kind of take turns within our group of 6, and we practice taking, having a conversation. It's less of an interview, I would say. It's more like having a conversation with a patient about this difficult situation. And then we all kind of go around in a circle and give each other feedback, and we also get feedback from the standardized patient at the end as well. So that happens again once a month, which seems really infrequent, but surprisingly, I actually take quite a bit away from that class. And it's nice to have it to kind of go into the more difficult situations, which we don't really get to go into in other courses. And then we have large group sessions that they're not really scheduled. They kind of just appear in our Google Calendar and we have to go. So we have large group sessions for certain topics. So for example, we had one about care for like the LGBTQ plus community, and we've had them for we have one coming up about contraception, and we have some coming up for pharmacology, for example. So the topics really range. They seem really random, but basically, and we've even had some on like imaging. So yeah, they're pretty random topics, and this is where the entire class of 23 will be together, and it really is more of a lecture. There are a lot of parts to it that can be interactive. It really depends on the speaker, but a lot of the times we do have professors or PhDs or practicing PAs coming to talk to us, and it just depends on how they want to run their session and how they want to teach us the information. Some things are harder to be interactive about. I don't really know how you can be interactive when you're learning about x-rays. Like you kind of just have to sit and learn. So those are the classes that I can think of as the large group session. We also have an anatomy session. I hope I'm not missing anything. The anatomy session is also like a lecture. We have our favorite Dr. Shawley who comes and talks to us about different sections, and our anatomy is actually corresponding with our tutorial. That's actually the nice thing about all of our classes, is that they kind of are all meshed together. Like, for example, when we're learning cardiology in our tutorial, we'll learn about the cardiac exam in our physical exam course. And then we'll learn how to read an ECG in a large group session, for example. So things kind of overlap. And so you're not really learning like random stuff at a random time, if that makes sense. So the topics are kind of blanketed under an umbrella, but then the different courses you take will teach you different things. Toni, I hope I didn't forget any classes. I hope
No, you didn't forget any.
Okay.
That was great. The one thing I just wanted to add is the way that we're structured is they're called MS. This really confused me when I first heard about how PA school works. So if you think about our first year, it's called our didactic year. So kind of just where we learn all the information. And then essentially it's broken up into what we call MS or medical foundations. And you can think of that as a semester. So because we go all the way through in first year, we start in September and end in August. And then we have, I believe, like 1 week breaks in between, depending, like Christmas break, we had a March break, and then we have a week off in August. So essentially, we'll have those MFs. So MS1 will cover, for example, cardio, respiratory, and hematology. And then MS2 will cover its own set of like different body systems. And then MS3 will cover its own set of body systems. And then like SHADA was saying, it's very cohesive in that all of our classes will be centralized on that unit or that body system that we're learning about. So you can almost think of MS as semesters. And then each semester, we learn about a different system or organ system in the body. And then we learn about the different, disease pathologies, all of that fun stuff relating to that MS. I really hope that makes sense, because I know that when I was reading like the outline, I was like reading through like the PA guide when I like first got into the program, and I was like, I don't know what this is. But then when you actually get into it, I will say it makes a lot of sense, and you do pick up really quickly how the program flows.